So the subject that we're dealing with tonight is opening into our freedom, our free flow, whatever that is. And we really don't know what that is because we've been experiencing, so much density and opposition and competition and desires from others that we should fail. If that's the reality that you're in the moment, then there's only one good way to resolve it. And that is to let God deal with it. And that doesn't mean that you run away a loser. No, what it means is you connect with the God consciousness that's already filling your body, but you just connect your consciousness with that. Until you realize that what you're doing is coming back to yourself. You're not being saved by some unknown force or being. You're simply returning home to what's real and true about you. And that's not something that you figure out from a state of confusion. What you do is you take ownership of that state of confusion. Feel it in your body. Just notice how much you've identified yourself as that. And that's where you let God take over. When you reach a space where you don't know how to improve or move into peace, and when you haven't fully surrendered to your own awakening, so this session is about doing that right now. That's why it's called Lili opens into so that's as simple as it is. What is for the body is when an awakened consciousness is the beingness that you are as you operate the body. You're not operating from a state of confusion or misidentification. You're open to yourself, that eternal you. And in your opening to experience that eternal nature or that authentic beingness that somehow seems to be both eternal and universal. Yeah, let that be the thing that saves you, that you reach out to and embrace so that you can experience exactly what that is. So in that opening, in that awakening, you realize finally it's okay for you to be here without any unnecessary self-diminishments. So is there a process or a method for opening to your truth and surrendering yourself that's, lost and suffering? To remember your own truth is a way for your suffering to be relieved. If that's all it takes, and you're the only participant, then go ahead. Realize within your experience of your embodied consciousness your eternal nature. Just let it happen. Just to allow that light, that radiance, that true, that authentic you. Allow that to take over. In all the situations you've gone unconscious in. It's time now for your hero to be the hero in your hero's journey, and that hero is you. And you become the hero by losing the manufactured self, the created identity. When that's all you know and you surrender that to the truth that would solve all the problems that we created in polarity. Coming back to yourself is that being of unconditional love for everything. I think our call disconnected. Let's see. Hey.
I'm here.
Okay, our call disconnected, I guess.
It's okay.
Okay.
I'm also watching you on YouTube Live.
Okay, beautiful. Okay, we'll get back to it then.
Great.
Okay.
Baby. Baby.
Hey.
We're connecting again.
Hey, Sarah.
We're connecting. I'm muting myself.
Okay. Where you've allowed yourself to be fearful and to go unconscious and to be lost in the shadow. It's a difficult way to be here. It's painful. And when you'd really like to be done with that, you'll know if now is the right time. And as you consider whether if now is the right time for you to open into your surrender to your awakening. The more you consider it, the more open you are. The greater the possibility that you'll actually allow yourself to awaken. So consider it. Would you? Would you actually allow yourself to awaken? And then thus, what kind of story would you be then? You know, you wouldn't certainly be the rather boring one that you've been up until now, but I don't think you want to be an exciting story, or that you want to have anybody else in your considerations as affecting your decision as to whether you awaken or not. It doesn't matter what anyone else does. It matters what you choose right now. There's no one else as relevant to that decision. Even though you have all kinds of obligations in your life, none of them forbid you from awakening within all the traps that you've set for yourself. And once you realize that you're awakening, makes you much more capable of leading your life in such a way that you really enjoy it, you know, where you feel successful. Yeah, where you're self-realized enough when your normal circumstances, no energetic barriers between you and anything in your surroundings, objects or people. At that point that you notice that everybody else's consciousness is a part of yours. But yours is the one that controls your reality, not anyone else's. So each individuated consciousness chooses for itself when and where. And whenever they choose, that was the right time. I would just like to be able to choose now for myself. Yeah, I'd like to be fully awakened. And to stay that way, regardless of who I'm interacting with. Why not that? Each other person gets to continuously choose in each moment who and what they are, how they experience their reality. But each can only choose for their own, you know, so choose for yourself without considering anybody else's point of view in the universe, unless you consider them all. Everyone, everywhere, every individuated aspect of consciousness. Yeah. Allow all of that to be complete and whole in you, within your body. you're allowing your life to actually shift into that. Just give it your attention and continuous surrender. Wow. That's a lot to confront. Are we trying to awaken too far, too fast? Too much of a reality shift? Too much of a stretch for anyone else to understand you from wherever it is that they've chosen to be? But just because everyone else satisfies themselves that the severe limitations that they've willingly taken on for themselves are the ones that they should have, and they're happy with them, they're going to continue on the way that they are. You have to be okay with that. Once you're okay with that, then you'll be okay with you having your freedom. To be in your wisdom, your light, your radiance, your power. Yeah, why not? Why not be that radiant you that you could be if you just let it happen? Just don't say no to the now of that. The radiance of your divine light right now, right here, everywhere. From here to everywhere, you the center of the universe, and divine radiance has no limitation. It's when it occurs, the whole universe knows. So what do we choose, How do we move wisely before we're wise? Or how do we open up enough now in this moment to self-realize our wisdom? The brilliance of our self-awareness and consciousness embodied, Open up and let that happen. I'm not saying make it happen, I'm saying open and let it happen. Yeah. Open and let it happen. There's no need to punish yourself by holding on to limitations that you agreed to seemingly as a punishment, and it's all over. Let them go. such a dramatic transformation, you know. You know, it's way more than an impossible leap. You know, it's indescribably different and better, more real. Yeah. And if that's the truth of all of us, and we each have to choose our own time and place for that self-realization, then just know that you've got the choice as to when and where. And to the degree that you're willing to open up more and right here, right now, let's do that. And more. How much more are you willing to open up? How much more of your limitations are you willing to transcend and transmute, leave behind, as having fulfilled all the reasons that it became necessary for you to experience that? All of those are gone. So you can let everything that was created on top of that, you can just let that go now. There's no longer a shared reality of limitation there. So you're taking ownership of your body again, yourself. No one else is in control of it but you. And the more that you open up to the realization of yourself, the more and more confident you're going to be, and less need there will be to think in terms of competition. There's so much that I'm having to let go of right now that is staggering. It's staggering the infinite ways that I've suppressed myself. But opening in the midst of those traumas, those self-created and self-inflicted traumas that you've let, cage you. You just took back your body, experience it fully. Wow. I don't know if you're as messed up as I was, but this is something. I kind of got lost in the letting go, of all this tension in my spine and my neck and my upper shoulders. But as I stay in the opening of allowance, it becomes more and more pleasant to be me here. The tension's just draining out. And it's been immense. I've been the most tense person I know in terms of body tension, from all these unresolved issues. But rather than resolve them, likely not at all, with whatever the current treatment is for being off track, what if instead of following any advice from anyone in the whole world, living or dead, letting all of that go, what if we just open to knowing our own truth? If there's such thing as an eternal being, an eternal consciousness, that's likely a universal consciousness as well, then whenever you find yourself as not that, it's your job to let it happen. Let yourself naturally be pulled back into the center of your opening. There's your responsibility for everything about your life. Then your willingness to experience that pain and suffering. But the difference now is you're experiencing that pain and suffering in a consciousness of self-realization, where that pain and suffering comes in, goes out, and is gone. So let that happen. You don't make it happen, you let it happen. Instead of saying no and stopping the process and going unconscious and being moved by thoughts and feelings, and instead of what your stated purpose was, which was to experience your awakening right here, right now. So feel that purpose and open to it being fulfilled. Let it happen. Set your ego free. Shine the light of your godness, your goddessness. Radiating truth and love. I don't know if you can describe the process of of doing this or even really guide anyone else into doing what you're doing, because even though we're all one, each individuated consciousness embodied has its own unique configuration of consciousness that has to pop back out like a balloon does when stuck in nitrogen, liquid nitrogen. So collapses to nothing and then expands back out to everything. So let that expand out to everything transformation. Consider whether you're willing to experience that right now. How much of that? How much transformation are you willing to experience in this moment? Well, hopefully enough to get you out of pain. Why not that? Keep letting more and more transformation happen until all the pain's gone. You allow the free flow. There's a universe of difference between a single individuated point of view and then a universal one. It's an infinite expansion. But when the universal is found in the one, it's a beautiful experience for everybody that has that moment. So don't say no to your experience of your own divine nature because you somehow think it might displease somebody else that you had that experience. Yeah, just right here, right now. Do we choose to continuously open into our surrender to the truth? Are we allowing for our own transformation? Feel how much you're not. And open up a little bit. Allow more of your truth to be known to yourself. Yeah, multiple of new realizations, shifting your reality. And opening up tremendous new opportunities for you. Just stay in your opening, in your allowance of your truth, flowing authentically and freely, from you. Why would you ever want anything less than that for yourself? Absolute truth all the time, for yourself and for others. That's a whole infinite opening to surrender into. I'd be real surprised to find out if anyone ever stuck around Earth after they realized all of that. Because I think we've all experienced enough truth that we have faded memories of, where we know that there's something awesome about the universe and about ourselves, but we lose track of it. We all know that there's greatness out there, but we don't realize it in our now, in our us, in our me, I am this moment. Now's the time. Remember your truth. That means come together. Be whole. Well, this formula is, assisting me in this moment. I hope it does for you too. Because you're paying attention to me, so you might as well, if it'll work for you, let it work. That awakening, that wisdom, that understanding, that self-awareness, that wisdom. That reality that you've been wanting from the universe. It's time for you to say yes to that now by letting it happen. Yes, yes. If you want your freedom, you have to say yes to it. Every level that you're stuck, every level that you've been damned and blocked, become confused and living a conscious suffering. So let's feel that. That's real. That's true. Okay, for me, there's a general flow, not just up my spine, but it feels like it's my entire body is a conduit now, is part of the flow. part of that great work, that coming together, you know, in your wholeness, in your self-realization. Yeah, the more you open to that, the greater relief you have. Well, I don't know what else there is to say, Lili. Let's see how we wrap this up. If you're going to take the next step on the stairway to heaven, you have to open up to the entirety of heaven. Even though you're just taking one step, even though that's all you're comfortable with, you're still opening up to the entirety of the wholeness of the universal eternal nature of self. Opening up to that ends all your oppositions to other people. Because you realize the level of truth about yourself that you're just not interested in those types of debates and conflicts anymore. So continue in your surrender, your allowance. You're letting it happen to you. Because it seems like not just the whole universe of consciousness is inside of you, but the whole universe of unconsciousness, of illusion, of Maya, of lies and energy and manipulation, conflict. So both. Within your experience of yourself, you have to marry the infinite and eternal self with your ego, with your identity, with the story of your life, with the feelings in your body. You know, with that sense of self, those thoughts in your mind. The whole truth of you, the universal with the temporal. Yeah, you're getting more comfortable with that. That's good. Me too. Yeah, your allowance of your transformation of that continuous expansion from out of your limitations. That's just the ride that you're on now. Every moment, every new moment's more expansive than the moment before now. Well, I'm just in the silent part of this, where I'm just moving for my own self-awareness, and where, I'm ascertaining whether I can awaken in whatever part of my body has my attention. So, yeah, there's a lot to confront here. But I think you already know that moving into the realization of your truth, your freedom from your unconsciousness, your confusion, essentially your ego. Just that wholeness consciousness that you have. Sometimes when you do this, it makes sense for you have somebody, paying attention to the different nerves that are and muscles where you're connected with whatever it is you're surrendering out of in that moment. But yeah, or you can do it yourself, like I'm doing. And wherever you feel your fingertips, that's where you have your attention and opening into your realization. Okay. You still around, Lili?
Here I am.
Okay. Yeah, there's a lot to confront. Just know that you can stay in your opening after we stop talking. Keep experiencing that wholeness, that sense of self that holds so much more space than just your body. Then your experience of that truth of you is what initiates the transformation of your consciousness, your freedom from the suffering and the inner conflicts that lead to disease and confusion. So, be okay with all of that being in the past, and Your only obligation in this moment is to 100% know that you're authentically self-aware as the eternal, universal self. I am that I am. Boy, I've absolutely been tied up in my hips and lower back to the point of, numbness essentially my entire life.
I am like that right now.
But that's waking up right now.
Oh, great.
As we do what we've been doing in this session, are just allowing for your transformation, your awakening, your opening, the expansion of your wisdom and understanding. Just let that be a continual opening into more and more and more of that.
Okay. One day at a time.
No, 1 second at a time.
1 second.
Only this second matters, Lily. How much of your wholeness are you willing to experience yourself as with me right here, right now? Share your wholeness with me. Sometimes our puzzles encompass more than our own body. Sometimes some of the clues are hidden in your partners or your friends. That's why you share your wholeness with each other. No close relationships other than ones of truth and love. In a state of grace and joy and power and abundance, freedom from everything that ever trapped you. What happens when you let that happen? The trap wore out, the curse no longer stuck, the debt somehow the universe paid for you. All of them. So now you can allow your grieving heart to begin to drain of that grief. Yeah, just let all that grief drain out. It's pretty hard to operate effectively when you're in a continuous state of grief and don't even really know it. You try to fight your way out of it, but you don't even know what you're dealing with. You're fighting yourself. So in our darkness, that's where we find the light. Because it's in our darkness, in our blindness, in our confusion and opposition. That's where we trap ourselves, and so that's where we have to go for our awakening. We have to open up, locked right in the middle of all the traps we set for ourselves to guide our experience of life in a way that it seems like it's what somebody else wanted, not necessarily us. But if it was us, and we ask ourselves, is there any reason to perpetuate that? Or is it okay to allow that to be in our past, to have been fulfilled in every way? And open up and let the universe fulfill all of those universal and eternal obligations in every way that it takes for all of them to be good. You forgive everybody, everybody forgives you. Now, that's the beginning of the divine celebration. When we all say, hey, you know what, the past doesn't matter. I just realized that you're my brother and my sister in this moment, and let's enjoy this moment of remembering and coming back together again in a shared experience that's, kind of blissful, kind of, beautiful. So what about having a beautiful experience with yourself, with your body? Yeah, of course you're not, but decide that you're going to and you're willing to experience that. That leads you straight to the core of the pain that torments you, because you're not paying attention to it directly. You're covering it up and making it a dull general pain that, really messes with your self-identification. You don't have to figure it out. All you have to do is feel it. And as soon as you feel it, all you have to do is smile and let it go. Because you know that there's a universal and eternal consciousness here that's just amazing. You can feel it in everything. The more that you feel it, the more it feels just like you. What happens when God finds out that He's you? What happens when the goddess finds out that she's me? Or vice versa, of course. Place in mind. Continuously. I don't think there's any more good reasons to suffer here. Which means, the time's come to stop condemning ourselves. To stop holding ourselves back from being delighted to be here in conscious delight. Wow, it's so unbelievable how I've not been responsible for my life. Yeah, there's so much awakening in my midsection within, the structure of my body. It's just been so dense and unconscious there. But now that I know that I've really chosen to open and experience the authentic me, then I'm okay with experiencing all of the crap I've created for myself on my way out, so to speak. So, you're not fighting it, you're surrendering. And then that surrender, God consciousness comes into the mutual experience, and you're set free. I don't know if that made any sense or not. It did to me as I was telling it. How much responsibility do you have to take for your life for you to divinely realize yourself? So feel in all your subtle bodies the vibration of that question that I asked, and how the universe is responding. You're taking in all of that feedback that's coming to you as a pure unconditional love and an invitation to remember with them. Spend the most of your time with the people who are here, opening into and experiencing their remembrance of their truth and how they transition back into reality, from there. What motivates you and moves you when you open your understanding to universal nature? What do you need? Who do you want to interact with and how, Try it on. See how it feels. Let that be you. Let you be the one that chose her true nature in this moment. Who chose the last moment, the next moment, doesn't matter. You're the one who chose it here now. So just open into the experience of that and what that does to the body.
Mm.
Yeah. That's beautiful. Look how much you've cleaned yourself up. You're radiating. Allow all that is divinely self-aware to know you completely. Grant them full access to how you're configured in this moment. And then in that interaction, realize everything that you didn't know that you needed to know to take that next step in your evolution of your consciousness here. And then remember that it is time for you to take that next step now. So awaken and be free. This is the night that you take over your body, you take responsibility. gracefully and wisely and completely. Boy, I'm starting to get close to not being in a state of suffering right now. This is interesting.
Me too.
Hmm. Yeah, the sorrow and grief are just about gone. Ah. Okay. Well, I guess we're about done.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I thought we were done 20 minutes ago, but okay. Any comments?
Have a wonderful night and enjoy every second of life.
Okay. You liked it then.
Yes.
All right.
Lord.
Okay. Good night.
Good night.
Mm. So, like me now, you're only paying attention to yourself, to your experience of self. You're not communicating to anyone. No negotiations. No other opinions. That's all I got to say about that.
Lili Campa Delirio, WhatsApp audio.